Hello and welcome to Tools to Create a Better Life with myself, Glenyce Hughes. Thank you so much for being here. I am so incredibly grateful for you. This week, questions answered: how to get your class into the world. My sweet friends, it is time. If you've been wondering, let me tell you right now, it is time. So first off, I want to invite you to a new program that I've got starting in June. It is a 5-day program, 5-part program, 5-step program, whatever. And it is called From Idea to Offer, which is all about getting your class into the world. It's something that I am asked about so often because I do it all the time, and I've been doing it for years and years and years, and I have finally put all the pieces together. So step 1 is all about communing with your creation, so that once you get the idea, you could ask it what it would like to charge, what it would like to have with it, when it would like to be, all the information. You're basically co-creating with it. How does it get any better than that? Step 2 is all about the invitations. How are you going to invite people to it? What does that look like? What might work? What might be fun? So that's step 2. Step 3, and this part, for some reason, I'm so freaking excited about, I think because I've never offered this before, is graphic templates. Yes, my brilliant magician, Erica, who works in the business with me, she has went in and created 10 different sets of graphic templates that you can use over and over and over for all the different classes. And it has all the sizes, like Facebook event size or iTunes size or Instagram, a little video, all the things. You just need to go in and change the title and the name, your name. It's so much ease. So that's step 3. Step 4 is the marketing plan. So of course, marketing plan, we could Google marketing plan and we could find out the right way to do it, or we could have some ideas and then add awareness. So that's what we'll talk about in step 4. And step 5 is my top 3 magic tricks. So come and play. We start on June 7th, 5 days in a row, 5 mornings if you're in North America. So the link will be somewhere above below. If you're listening to this, it'll be in the show notes, or you can contact me, or if you're on my email list, you will probably see it there somewhere in my emails. But I would love, love, love for you to come and play From Idea to Offer. Okay, so I put a call out on Facebook of anybody who had questions about getting their class into the world. So I want to respond to these questions now. I didn't get a ton of them, so I could always do a part 2 if some of you have questions. Make sure to post them below or above or however you're watching this, and I could do a part 2 or just respond where you ask them. So number 1, let me see. Okay, one of the questions, and it was one I put at the beginning because it's I would say maybe before we even start, is how do I unleash my creativity? That's a great question. So what I always look at with that is that there are creations that are asking me to create them. They're always bouncing around. So it's not that I necessarily need to unleash my creativity. What you want to be is more aware, because they're already there. The ideas are like, if we could see them, there would be 1 billion in this room with me right now, probably even more, just floating around, dancing around. And if you have never read the book Big Magic from 𝘊𝗶𝗆𝗍𝗵, I highly, highly recommend it. I love that book, and she speaks very much about creativity and creations, and I'm totally paraphrasing because I don't even recall exactly what she said, but I have repeated this so many times, but it's from that book, where the creation comes basically and knocks on our door. And then it's whether we receive that knocking or not. Do we open the door? Do we bolt it shut? Do we ignore it? Do we even hear it? What does it look like for us? And so when the creation knocks on our door, if we open it, then we have choice. We can choose to play with it. We can choose not to. It itself is going to get created. So if you don't open the door, it's going to go to another person. Okay. And this is the thing. It gave me so much freedom when I really got that. I don't have to answer the door every time. Because honestly, with these billion that are in the room with us right now, I mean, there's so many creations that I could create that are knocking on my door. And then it becomes about like, there's too many that just, it's too much. So if you don't open the door, it's going to go somewhere else. And you might have even heard stories of where there were inventions. There was an invention in, let's say in the US at the same time it was invented in England, let's say. And this is, I'm talking 100 years ago. So there was no social media, there was no way for anybody to be connected, and yet they were able to create the exact same invention on the exact same day. And that to me is like that creation just went, randomly knocking on a bunch of people's doors, and there was a couple people that answered. So same idea. So there's already knocks at your door. So it might be that you need to look at what is that for you. For some people, it's taking a shower. They get all sorts of like brilliant ideas and awarenesses. For some people, it's taking a nap. For some people, like me, it's floating in a swimming pool or running now. Or, there's lots of ways. A lot of times I'll just wake up in the night and it'll just be there type of thing. And it's a lot of that. So how do you unleash your creativity? I would change that more to how do you be more aware of the creations that are already knocking on your door? The other thing you can do is ask them to be louder. Creations that would like to me to create you, be super loud. Be super loud. Don't let me ignore you. Now, with that too, you also want to recognize how are they showing up. Now, of course, they don't always show up the same way. And how are they showing up? Do you get a thought of them? Like, does it just come through and go, it'd be so cool to do that one thing? And then do you just let it go by? Okay, so you also want to be aware of what you're doing with that. I know for me now, I get like just the most random. I had, in the most recent, Global Foundation with Gary and Dane, with Access Consciousness, Gary kept saying, I don't want to be a billionaire, which is a phrase that we use in Access. The word want means to lack. So I don't lack to be a billionaire. And so it's a fun way to use the tool. And he kept saying it. It was like there was such an energy on it for me. I couldn't ignore it. And I knew that a creation was asking to be created with that. So we'll put a link, and probably by the time you see this or hear this, it'll be over, but you can always get it afterwards. Everything is always recorded. And so I just knew then. And I can remember the same thing a couple of years ago in a Global Foundation, and Gary made one sentence about a How to Become Money workbook and doing it every second week for 6 months. Soon as he said that, at lunchtime, I was in my office getting all the pieces together to offer that. Like there's just, at this point, I have utilized these tools and really become so aware of that. So maybe if you're not there yet, you're still kind of playing and just learning this stuff, just give yourself some time and have some fun with it and play with it and be aware of how it does show up. Maybe it's a thought, maybe you hear other people say it, maybe it's you see somebody offering something and you go, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I offered that, but I added these 16 other things? Or like really start paying attention, really be aware. There we go, there, I'll sum it down to that, be aware. There's that. So that's one. Number two. Okay, so I have an idea. What's my first step? And I love this question because it's not what you think. Your first step, you have the idea, so the idea pops in. So let's stick with my I don't want to be a billionaire energy pulls. So Gary kept talking about it. The idea came. My first step, commune with the idea. It's also the reason it's the first step in the 5-part series I'm offering, commune with the idea. Because the way that I see it is that I've got the most brilliant business partner available. The creation itself is the most brilliant business partner I could ever have. So when it's knocking at my door, I don't just open it and pull it in and throw it down and control it. I open the door and I say, hi, how nice to play with you. Tell me more. Tell me when you would like to be. Tell me how much money you would like me to charge for you. So commune with it. First step, commune with it, talk with it, ask it what it would like to be. Okay, so that's that one. What is the best way to invite people? Okay, now I know that there's a lot of information out there about the best way. And if you were to Google that, what's the best way to invite people to a class? There's probably as many different blog posts about it that there would be ways to do it. There actually isn't a best way. There's the way in that moment that the class is asking to be shared. So that might be a Facebook event, that might be a story, that might be Instagram, that might be an email, that might be phoning people, that might be Facebook messaging people. Like, there's so many different ways, guys. And I know that it's overwhelming with all the different ways. And also it's why it's I guess it's kind of number 2 and number 4 in my steps. Like, it's in step 2, we'll talk about the ways to invite and all the ways and how you can and get you going on different worksheets to do that specific class you're working on. And then number 4 is the marketing with the awareness, where you're asking questions along with the ways you could do it. And it really is in that moment. So what I like to have is a list of all the different ways that are possible. And then in the moment when it's asking to be shared, then I get to look at that list and ask it, okay, so right now, which one? Is it a Facebook post? Is it a Facebook Live? Is it an email? Do I need to call somebody? Do I need to message somebody? Like, what is it asking for? So we go back to step 1 again, which is the communing piece. So you're not marketing on your own. This isn't I'll figure it out and I'll follow the 7 steps from this book. That often doesn't work for us, my sweet friends, as much as we would like it to. It just often doesn't work for us. What it's more about is the willingness to be aware, the willingness to ask a question, and the willingness to fuck it up. I know, right? It's like, no, I need to get it right. No, you don't, my friend. You don't. In fact, the more that you fuck it up, the more awareness you'll receive. The more you'll get, oh, okay, so what else? What else? The other thing is, often when we're creating like a class, we're in the class in that moment. So we're, say, putting a Facebook post in, let's say, your business page, let's say. So you're putting a class on. I'll stick with my I don't want to be a billionaire energy pulls. I'm putting that class on, and I'm asking that class, and it would like me to post about it on my As If by Magic Facebook page. So I do that, and maybe I share a blurb about it. Maybe 500 people see it. Maybe 50 of them choose it. 450 other people that saw it, maybe that wasn't the thing for them, and by them seeing it, it got them to like my page, or to follow me on YouTube, or to investigate my radio shows, or who knows. I mean, but like, don't ever conclude that what you did, or that post, or that email, or that it didn't result in anything. This is where I have in the past, and so many of the people that I work with a lot of people who are creating businesses. So many of them stop and go, well, that didn't work. Guess what happens when you do that? You actually stop the energy of what it did create. So you could do a couple of things. You could say, what's right about this I'm not getting? So you're putting it into a question and you're like expanding it. And you don't even need to do that. You could just be like, cool. It was a yes to do it. I followed it. I did it. I know it's creating something. Universe, show me what it created, or something. You could just have fun with it, but really to be aware that the minute you say that didn't work, you've stopped receiving from it. You've stopped what's actually possible. Right, wrong, good, bad, all 9, but box, shorts, boys, and beyond. So that is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. And it basically just works like magic. You can go to theclearingstatement.com for more information about how it works, but it just clears the energy around the insanity, all the limitations we have. It clears it. So I like to use it a lot. And so when you're doing that, when you're looking at like the best way to invite people, really get out of that mindset that there's a best way, because there isn't. And you could even ask, what invitation could I be right now? Yeah. And with social media, so I've been around long enough in business, if you could imagine, I know, that I actually know what business was like before social media. Yeah, weird, I know. And with social media, I'm so grateful for social media. I freaking love social media. With social media, what I know works more than the typical invite is me being me. So when I post about a run I went for, when I post about a cake that hubby baked me or something like that, that is a huge invitation to all the classes and my business. It doesn't make logical sense, and it's a huge invitation, because the thing is, especially with the type of business that I run, people want to see the tools in action. They want to see how I've used them to change my life, and how I'm continuing to use them to change my life. And so that cake that hubby baked for me, I'm trying to put all my words together, the cake that hubby baked for me usually also has some sort of a comment or some sort of story with it about how there was a time where that couldn't have occurred. Until I was able to retire hubby, I did the cooking, I did the cleaning, I did all that stuff. And then when I was able to retire hubby, because business was so yummy and delicious and expansive and was able to support both of us financially, that changed everything. So when people see hubby baking a cake for me, it's not just about, oh cool, he baked me a cake. It's so much more. It's that I've used these tools to create a life and a living beyond what I never imagined possible. Way beyond. And it's not that I have to point that out every time that I post either, but social media is about being social. It's about people seeing all of your life and your living. And I love that. And I have no problem showing that. I don't get shy about that. It's total ease for me. So if it isn't, one, you might want to get, just recently I did a Zoom class on tools to stop hiding you and your gifts. So we'll put a link to that if you want to go get that. That may contribute, but really just to recognize that if you're just posting about your classes, probably people aren't listening anymore. So there does need to be, at least in my experience, some sort of a mix where I'm sharing about me, I'm being me, I'm sharing my life, my living, and then also there's some stuff people could come to, some actual physical invites, of course, but to be aware, it's social media. So anyway, there we go. What else did we get? Oh, yes. I have a class idea and I have no budget. Yeah. And I should say, the question is like, how do I put a class on with no budget? But I was just jotting them down before I hopped on here. So you really want to look at, what have you decided? Like what sort of budget do you need? Now I'm assuming, I didn't ask any more questions of the person, but I'm assuming that you think you need to have, a graphic designer, and you need to have Zoom, and you need to have whatever, all the things that would cost money to put a class on. So what if it's about what else is possible that I've never even considered? What a bizarre question, right? Not, I don't have the budget, so I can't do it, and what else is possible that I've never even considered? Like, I wonder how I could put a class on that made me money in a way that works for me. And then I would look at all the things you've decided. If you decide you need a graphic designer, clear that right now. You can go to Canva, and we'll actually put a link in here to Canva because I'm actually an affiliate for Canva. I freaking love it. I have avoided it most of my life. Okay, it hasn't been around most of my life, but most of my designing life, I've used a different program called PicMonkey, which is a great program too. But Canva is frickin' the cat's meow of all meows. Like, oh my gosh. So I'll put a link if that's something you want to check out. There's a free version that you can actually just go in and put your name, like they've got templates already. Go do that. You don't need to pay any money to get a graphic design. Go and do it yourself. Will it look as pretty as somebody who has 10 years experience designing graphics? Probably not. Who the fuck cares? Just go do it. So we've got that. We've got the graphic. Maybe you think you need Zoom. You don't. You can actually have a class in all sorts of free ways, and you can even there's a way to do free Zoom. I don't remember the exact requirements, so you might only have a 40-minute Zoom or something. I don't know. Check it out. Go check out Zoom. But also, what about a class in Facebook in a group, like a group that only you've added people or people have requested to join that have paid to be part of it? What if you do it differently? What else is possible? You could probably do it, I'm not sure, WhatsApp. I'm not as familiar with WhatsApp or Telegram, but check it out. There's probably lots of different ways you could do free class or a paid class in some sort of a free platform. Check it out, okay? And then look at what else you've decided that you need to pay for. You don't have a budget. What does that mean? What do you think you need a budget for? The other thing you could do is put it out there, and then as the money comes in, then you could go and pay for 1 month of Zoom if you would like to have it in Zoom and on a paid platform. You don't need to sign up for a year. Sign up for 1 month. Like, really get creative with that, guys. All right, and then the last question we've got for this one. So this person is saying, I have put classes on and no one comes. Not really a question, but I wanted to speak to it anyway. Because there's so much to that. One, and I've already spoke about this already, but how much energy what are you stopping? The minute you say no one attended or it didn't happen, and not so much like no one attended, like that's, okay, so no one attended, but it's the energy with what you're doing it with, like no one attended, so I failed. That's kind of the energy that I read from it. So you really want to be aware of that, because the minute you do that, there's no gifting and receiving. There's no way that class could contribute to your next class because you've cut it off energetically. So it really is about looking at, okay, so what's right about this I'm not getting? And ask, hey class, do you require to be another time? I've put on a lot of classes that didn't, especially at the beginning, that didn't have anybody. And I even, what if they could contribute now? The other question that's a great question to ask is this for now or in the future? So a few years ago, actually 2 years ago, I just saw it in my Facebook memories, I put on a class in Ireland, and it was called something like Exponentializing Your Gifts and Capacities with Energies or something like that. And we had a really nice turnout. I don't remember the number, but it was a really nice turnout. The funny thing with that class is I attempted to put that class on in 2014. And we had maybe one person register for it. So a few weeks before the class, I talked to the hosts and said, guys, we need to change something here. And we needed to change the class. We changed the class to something totally different. And all these people registered back in 2014. So when we put the class on in 2019, guess what? We had a whole bunch of people register. What's the difference? I was in the future. That class wasn't for 2014. I was aware of it, as I am, but it wasn't for then. So we just changed it. So also ask those questions when it's seeming like nobody's registering or doesn't really have an energy on it. Be willing to ask more questions. Is this class for now or in the future? Is there another class? Is there something else to change about the class? Is the venue, there's so many different things. So you really don't ever want to see it as, well, I failed, or I put it out there and no one attended, or no one took it, or I was wrong. Stop all of that insanity, destroy and uncreate it all. And now what? Now what would you like to choose? Yeah, turn it into a question. I wonder what class is asking for you to get it into the world as if by magic. Yeah, so again, I invite you, my sweet friends, come and play from Idea to Offer June 7th 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. So 7th to 11th every morning in North America, so every afternoon in Europe. That might be closer to the middle night in Australia. And of course, everything is all recorded, and we've got a Facebook group and all the pieces. So would love to have you come and play. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and have a fabulous rest of your week. And I look forward to playing again next week.